American fans spent an entire US Open Sunday cheering against an American player on American soil, and the man standing 5 feet away from all of it finally said what everyone was thinking. Scottie Scheffler watched it happen in real time, and his answer after the round is the one nobody covered correctly. This is not about crowd noise at a regular tour event. Police ejected multiple fans from Shinnecock Hills on Sunday. Spectators cheered when Wyndham Clark's shots went in bunkers. They sprinted toward his ball when it rolled off a green. And across the entire final round of the 2026 US Open, only one player in that final pairing heard applause. It was not the champion. Honestly, I think the crowd crossed a line that the USGA did not handle fast enough, and Scheffler's post-round answer, which every outlet quoted selectively, actually says something far more specific than anyone reported. Do you think the USGA should have acted sooner, or was this just New York being New York? Drop it in the comments right now.
And stay with me, because what Scheffler said when reporters kept pushing him on the fan question is the moment that got cut from every highlight package, and I'm not getting to it until later in this video. To understand what happened at Shinnecock Hills on Sunday, you need the timeline of how Wyndham Clark became the most disliked American golfer at an American major in recent memory. It did not happen overnight. It built across 14 months. It started at the 2025 PGA Championship in May, where Clark threw a club after a bad tee shot. That moment was broadcast on national television. No fine was announced publicly, no statement from Clark at the time. It landed badly with the kind of golf audience that holds composure as something close to sacred. Then came the 2025 US Open at Oakmont. Clark missed the cut. After his final round, he damaged historic lockers in the members' locker room. Oakmont banned him from the club. He was required to apply for formal reinstatement to return. Clark eventually apologized, repeatedly, across multiple press conferences and media appearances over the following year, but the timeline on that apology created its own problem. Golf fans noticed that the contrition came late and only picked up when the competitive calendar demanded it. By the time Clark arrived at Shinnecock Hills with a 6-shot lead on Sunday morning, the crowd was already primed. Here is a number that frames the atmosphere. Police removed fans from the course starting at the 4th hole, hole 4. The round was barely 45 minutes old when the ejections began. That is a crowd that came to Shinnecock Hills with a specific agenda and executed it from the opening tee shot. None of that explains what Scheffler actually said when the press room kept pushing him about the fans. That's coming up. Here is what Scheffler said in his post-round press conference. This is real. This is verbatim. This is from Sunday, June 22, 2026 at Shinnecock Hills. The crowd was tough today. New Yorkers, they are tough people. There was a good turnout from the fans. You like seeing the fans cheer for you. I think sometimes it can get a little too much when balls are kind of going off greens and you start hearing cheers. That felt a bit much to me. That line, "that felt a bit much to me," is the one every outlet cut or buried. Read it again and think about who is saying it. Scheffler was the crowd favorite all day. Every birdie he made, they roared. Every time Clark wobbled, they celebrated. Scheffler was the direct beneficiary of every moment the Shinnecock crowd turned hostile toward his playing partner, and he is standing at the podium saying the thing that benefited him personally felt a bit much. That is not...
Now, here's what Scheffler said next when reporters kept asking. Guys, I'm not going to sit here and talk about fans the whole time. That line got quoted once, briefly, and then the coverage moved on to Clark's trophy ceremony. But that line matters, because Scheffler shut the press room down on the fan question after answering it twice. He set a limit. The world number one, who spent the entire day with the crowd in his corner, drew a line at a certain point and said, "I've said what I'm going to say about this." He saw something out there that he was not willing to keep describing. Scheffler also drew on his own experience, and this is the part most coverage skipped entirely. He referenced the 2025 Open Championship at Royal Portrush, where the Northern Irish crowd wanted Rory McIlroy to win on home soil, and Scheffler was the obstacle. He said, "I think Portrush was a scenario for me where Rory is in his hometown. Or not his hometown, he's in Ireland, not far from where he grew up. Crowds can be tough." He won that tournament anyway. The same crowd gave him a standing ovation. He knows how hostile golf crowds work from the inside. And he still looked at what happened to Clark.
The PGA Tour has spent the last 3 years building a narrative around player character. Commissioner Jay Monahan has talked publicly about protecting the brand of PGA Tour players, the image of professionals who conduct themselves with restraint and class on and off the course. That was the stated reason the tour took a hard line on live defectors: character, standards, behavior. What the tour promised implicitly to every player who stayed: we protect your reputation. We manage the environment you compete in. We stand behind players when conduct situations arise. What Clark received 2 behavior incidents in 14 months, a thrown club and a damaged locker room, that the tour addressed quietly, without public communication, without a clear timeline for resolution. No fine announcement on the club throw. The Oakmont ban came from the club, not the tour. Put yourself in Clark's shoes at the start of Sunday's final round. You have a 6-shot lead. You have apologized, publicly and repeatedly, for what happened at Oakmont. You have done the media rounds. You addressed it at Augusta. You addressed it at the Players. And you show up at Shinnecock Hills, and the crowd starts heckling you on the 4th hole because
The USGA removed fans after the damage was already visible on the national broadcast. NBC was calling it out in real time. Golf Channel Sky Sports correspondent Jamie Rear said on air, "I've never seen an American player on American soil have to deal with what he had to deal with yesterday, and it did cross the line." That is a television broadcaster saying, live, that what they were watching had crossed a line during the broadcast, while it was happening. The USGA's ejection process kicked in, but it started at hole 4 and continued through the back 9. By the time the crowd calmed down, Clark had already navigated the most hostile environment of his career largely without institutional cover. Here is the question that the Tour and the USGA both need to answer. If spectator conduct is serious enough to eject fans during a major championship final round, why is there no documented pre-tournament communication to the Shinnecock crowd about what behavior is and is not acceptable? And why does that communication only exist reactively, after the cameras catch something embarrassing on the broadcast? Now here is the part nobody is connecting. Scheffler's birthday fell on the final day of the US Open. He turned 30 on Sunday, June 22.
That is Clark acknowledging that he was the villain in Scheffler's hero story. Whether he deserved that role is a different question, but he understood exactly what the crowd dynamic was, and he won anyway. The last time fan behavior at a golf major generated this level of broadcast controversy was the 2021 Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits, where European players faced significant crowd hostility during the singles. But that was a Ryder Cup, a team competition, with explicit national allegiances, where crowd partisanship is baked into the format. Shinnecock Hills was a US Open, an individual stroke play event. An American player being jeered by American fans, while another American player was cheered in the same pairing. That combination had no real precedent. Golf Channel reporter Mel Reid, on course for Sky Sports, said directly, "I've never seen an American player on American soil have to deal with what he had to deal with." After the trophy ceremony, after the interviews, after everything, Clark appeared on The Rich Eisen Show and was asked directly whether New York should lose future major championship rights because of what happened on Sunday. His answer was immediate. He rejected the idea. He said New York should keep hosting majors. He praised the city's passionate sports culture. He expressed hope that fans would support players rather than root against them going forward.
Then he said this, "I love you guys, but I get it. Some of it's self-deserved. I kind of brought it on myself." Pause on that. The man who spent 4 hours being heckled, who watched police eject fans from a major he won, who heard "nobody likes you" and "Canada hates you" shouted at him on a golf course, is standing on a talk show set defending the city that did it. That is either exceptional grace or a calculated image rehabilitation move. Probably both, and both are fine. But notice what Clark did not do. He did not call for investigations. He did not demand USGA accountability. He did not criticize Scheffler's fan base. He accepted his share of the blame and moved on. Is Clark's response to the heckling the right move? Take responsibility and move forward? Or should he be pushing back harder on how the USGA managed it? Comment, right move, or should push back. The contrast with how the institution handled this is stark. Clark showed grace, the USGA showed reactive management, the Tour showed silence, and Scheffler, who had nothing to gain from saying anything, drew the clearest line of anyone when he said that felt a bit much and then shut the press room down on the topic. Of the 4 parties involved, Clark, the USGA, the Tour, and Scheffler,
The Open Championship at Royal Birkdale is 3 weeks away. The PGA Tour heads to the Travelers Championship in Connecticut this week. Clark will be in both fields. Here is the number that makes the next month critical. Clark is now a 2-time major champion. His world ranking will jump significantly following the US Open win. He is going to be in every final pairing at every major he enters for the next several years. The crowd dynamic that played out at Shinnecock will follow him to every venue until he builds a reputation that overrides the locker room story. That timeline is measured in major performances, not apologies. The Open at Royal Birkdale will be a different crowd. British galleries are traditionally more restrained than American ones. Clark will not face what he faced at Shinnecock at Birkdale. but the US Open returns to Oakmont in 2027, the venue that banned him. And the question of whether Clark will ever be granted reinstatement at Oakmont, combined with the public reaction his name generates in New York, creates a pattern that is going to define the atmosphere around his major appearances for years. The most relevant comparison for what Clark is navigating is not another golfer. It is Tiger Woods in 2009 and 2010, when the off-course story followed him into every venue, and the crowd reaction shifted from pure adoration to something more complicated. Woods managed it by winning. His game eventually quieted the noise better than any press conference did. Clark won Sunday, wire to wire, 6-shot lead, back 9 collapse, held on by 1. He played the shot of the day on the 10th, a 61-yard pitch that most players in the field had struggled with all week. He birdied 16 to go 2 clear. He made par on 18 under the most hostile crowd condition of his career. If that performance does not start changing his reputation, nothing will.
Here is what the Shinnecock situation actually exposes about professional golf's relationship with its own audience. The sport markets itself on decorum, the silence before shots, the walking rather than running, the applause rather than chanting. Golf's crowd culture is part of its identity and part of what separates it from every other major professional sport. But when that culture breaks down, when fans cheer errant shots, jeer American players at an American major, and get ejected for conduct that would be baseline behavior at a baseball game, the institutions that built their brand on decorum have no real response system. Here is the question golf's governing bodies have never properly answered. At what point does fan behavior become a course management failure rather than an individual fan problem? The USGA removed fans, but the ejection process is reactive. There was no proactive communication to the Shinnecock crowd before the round, no public